For a long time, many African countries have been stuck using a money system created by France, the country that once ruled them. This currency, called the CFA franc, was made so France could still control how African countries managed their money, even after they became independent. But things are starting to change. A new group of leaders in Africa is stepping up, ready to break free from France's control and manage their own money. Countries like Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have said clearly that they don't want to use the CFA franc anymore. They want a fresh start with their own rules and their own money system. Right now, they're working together to build something new. A money system that helps their people first, not other countries far away. Burkina Faso's president, Ibrahim Traore, has already begun making important changes. He's introduced a brand new currency called the Sira and even set up a special bank called the Treasury Deposit Bank to manage their money directly. These changes are a big deal because they break away from the old ways that kept African countries financially tied. France created the CFA franc way back in 1945, hoping it would keep control over African economies even after those countries won their freedom. Under this system, African countries had to keep a big part of their money in French banks. This meant they couldn't really decide for themselves how to spend or save their money. In other words, France was still calling the shots, even though these countries were supposed to be free. We want to take a quick pause and ask you a question. Would you like a man like Captain Ibrahim Traore to be the president of your country? Let us know what you think in the comments below. For many years, countries in Africa have struggled because their money doesn't really belong to them. Instead, another country, France, has always had the final say on how they manage it. Imagine if your allowance was controlled by someone else who decided exactly how you could spend it. That's kind of what's happening here. Countries using the CFA franc can't choose how much money to print, can't change the value of their money if things get tough, and can't even make important financial decisions without France saying it's okay. There's another big problem too, because the CFA franc's value is tied to Europe's currency, the euro. Things made in Africa end up costing too much for other countries to buy. That makes it harder for these African countries to sell their goods around the world. As a result, they're stuck mainly selling basic things like cotton, cocoa, or minerals, instead of making and selling products of their own. But now, one country in particular, Burkina Faso, is stepping up and saying, enough is enough. President Ibrahim Traore is leading his country in a totally new direction. He's pulling away from groups influenced by France, like ECOWAS, because he wants Burkina Faso to control its own money and decisions. To do this, President Traore created a new currency called the Sira. What's special about the Sira is that Burkina Faso decides everything about it. How much it's worth, how much to print, and how to keep prices fair for ordinary people. No more asking permission from another country. And that's not all. Burkina Faso set up a new bank called the Treasury Deposit Bank. This is a safe place where the country can keep its money instead of putting it into banks run by France. This way, Burkina Faso can keep and manage its own wealth, making the country stronger financially. But moving from one currency to another isn't easy. It takes careful planning, smart rules, and good management to make sure things stay stable. If something goes wrong during the switch, prices could jump suddenly, and people might lose trust in the new money. Plus, there's always a chance that countries like France won't be happy about this move. They might try to pressure Burkina Faso by making trade harder or using other ways to discourage the country's push for independence. Burkina Faso isn't just making small changes here and there, they're making history. Imagine if your class decided they no longer wanted teachers picking partners for projects. Instead, you choose your own partners and decide exactly how your projects will run. That's exactly what Burkina Faso is trying to do with its economy. Right now, the country is reaching out to new friends who might understand their situation better. Countries like Russia and Venezuela have also had their own struggles with big Western countries telling them what to do. So, these new friendships might feel natural and helpful. They could lead to exciting new projects such as building factories that create jobs for local people, getting help to improve their army, or even gaining access to advanced technology like better internet or electricity. But making new friends can also make old ones unhappy. The United States, France, and powerful groups like the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank might get upset. They don't want Burkina Faso getting too close to countries that don't always agree with them. If that happens, they might try to punish Burkina Faso by stopping trade, cutting off loans, or even convincing other countries not to help them. That's why Burkina Faso needs to be extra careful. They must think through every decision clearly, making sure their economy stays strong. Introducing a new currency isn't easy. They have to make sure people trust it enough to use it every day, and they need clear rules to make sure prices stay fair. They also have to be clever when talking with other countries, keeping friendships balanced without upsetting too many powerful nations. Other African countries are watching this closely. If Burkina Faso manages to succeed, it could inspire them to stand up too, challenging old rules set by their former colonial rulers. It would be like finally telling an older sibling, "Hey, I can do this by myself now." And once one country proves it can be done, others may feel brave enough to follow, causing a wave of change that sweeps across the entire continent. By starting the Sira currency and opening a new national bank, President Ibrahim Traore is making a bold statement. He's telling the world that Burkina Faso is done following rules that help other countries more than their own people. This decision isn't going to be easy, but Traore believes it's the best way for Burkina Faso to finally stand on its own feet. He dreams of a country that's strong, independent, and proud of itself, no longer needing to ask permission from outsiders on how to handle its money. But making such big changes is tricky and even risky. Traore isn't just changing his country's money, he's challenging the way the world usually works. Normally, powerful countries in Europe and America have a lot of say over how African nations manage their money. When leaders like Traore try to change this, it often gets them into trouble. This situation reminds many people of another African leader, Muammar Gaddafi, from Libya. Years ago, Gaddafi tried to create a new African currency backed by gold. His goal was to help African countries trade with each other without needing approval or money from Western countries. Gaddafi wanted Africans to use their own currency, not the dollar or euro, giving them real freedom and control over their wealth. But Gaddafi's bold plan scared powerful Western countries because it meant they could lose their influence and money. When Muammar Gaddafi tried to create a new way for African countries to manage their money, powerful countries didn't like it at all. In 2011, not long after Gaddafi started pushing for his idea of using gold to back an African currency, he was suddenly removed from power and killed. Many people think powerful countries, especially from the West, played a big role in stopping him because they didn't want Africa controlling its own money. Sadly, this wasn't the first time something like this happened. Leaders who have tried to help African nations take charge of their own money have often gotten into serious trouble. Burkina Faso itself had a leader named Thomas Sankara who wanted his country to be completely free from outside control. He told his people they didn't need to depend on Western loans because owing money meant other countries had power over them. But Sankara's strong stance angered powerful countries. In 1987, he was killed and many still think outside forces had a hand in it. A similar story happened earlier in Congo with a leader named Patrice Lumumba. He wanted Congo's rich minerals to benefit his own people instead of foreign countries. But in 1961, Lumumba was killed too, because his ideas threatened the profits of Western businesses. And it didn't stop there. Even recently, in 2021, Tanzania's President John Magufuli faced strong opposition because he wanted his country to rely less on foreign companies and banks. He suddenly died, and although official reports say it was natural, many people have doubts because he was challenging powerful interests. Now, President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso is stepping into this dangerous territory by creating the SIRA currency. Like Sankara, Lumumba, Gaddafi, and Magufuli before him, Traore is choosing independence over outside control, placing himself in the spotlight where others before him faced serious trouble. By deciding to manage Burkina Faso's money without France's help, President Ibrahim Traore is taking a huge risk. He's stepping right into a showdown with powerful countries who prefer things exactly the way they've always been, under their control. This isn't just about changing money or banks, it's about standing up to big countries that don't like losing control. Those powerful nations have a history of pushing back hard when someone tries to break free from their rules. Now, the big question everyone is asking, can Traore do what other brave African leaders couldn't? Or is this story going to end the same way again, with another leader facing tough consequences for standing up? What do you think will happen next? Will Traore be able to change Burkina Faso's future, or will things stay the same as always? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget, we're always here sharing exciting stories about Africa, its incredible people, their cultures, and their brave journeys toward freedom. If you found this video interesting, be sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe.